Finally tonight, coping with combat stress in Iraq. We begin with a report on the recent experiences of a U.S. Army company in Baghdad. It's narrated by Kimmy Nazarome of the Guardian newspaper in Great Britain. Please be warned, many of the images are graphic.
Saturday, May the 19th. It's late afternoon in Baghdad. Photojournalist Sean Smith captures this image. Inside a Bradley armoured car, 6 US soldiers and their translator are burning to death. This is Sean's account of the horrific events of that day and the following 2 weeks. His footage starts with a rare moment of calm for Apache Company in Amaria, western Baghdad. Then in the distance, an explosion.
Let's go! Rock and roll!
This is 4th Platoon. They rush out to investigate. Sean films the soldiers as they discover the target of the blast, the Bradley upside down and on fire. It's been blown up by a roadside bomb. But 4th Platoon are too late to help their 7 trapped colleagues. Live ammunition explodes inside the Bradley. Seconds later, and nervous, they raid a nearby house looking for the bomb maker. They detain several men and leave them with interrogators.
You got grenades going off, you got an ID blowing up your vehicle, and then you're expected to go back in those 4 to 5 hours and relax, to come back out and do another 6 hours. You don't have time. You just don't have time to do it. Your body never gets to come down. You're always on that heightened sense of alertness. Like you just don't have that. You don't have the rest.
48 hours later, and Specialist Lakes unit are back in the neighborhood. They're conducting random house checks. They're jumpy. But this time, all they find is a frightened and elderly woman. Fourth Platoon find nothing and leave. But the next morning, this is what happened. Apache Company's 2nd Platoon are now on patrol. They're suspicious a car circling their position might be a lookout for nearby snipers. Still nervous after the Bradley attack, they order the car to stop. And when it doesn't, they open fire.
Oh, he's dead.
No, he's moving.
I know. Shoot in his body. Somebody got one in the throat.
They drag the driver through the nearest front yard and try to revive him. The soldiers' attempts to keep the man alive fail. A neighbor turns up. She thinks she knows who he is.
They say he's the, they hired that guy, and he said he's just a taxi driver. That guy, he gets shot.
The man was killed because he failed to stop. 2nd Platoon Specialist Vassal was there that day.
I challenge anybody in Congress to do my rotation. They don't have to do anything, just come hang out with me and go home at the times I go home and come stay here 15 months with me.
The day starts with 2nd Platoon called to investigate a blast at an insurgent bomb factory. They pick their way through the rubble. Moments later, there's a secondary explosion. Chaos, debris, and flying shrapnel. An Iraqi soldier has taken the brunt of it. Neighbors, both children and adults, are hurt too. The Americans set up an emergency first aid operation. They try and help the wounded. A young boy has shrapnel wounds in his face and his body. It's an ordinary day for the people of Baghdad. An Apache Company.
We're supposed to be on the way home right now.
You good?
We were supposed to be flying home in 6 days.
That's what I told him.
6 days.
We're waiting right now, chilling.
But because we have people up there in Congress with the brain of a 2-year-old who don't know what they're doing, they don't experience it. I challenge the president or whoever has us here for 15 months to ride alongside me. I'll do another 15 months if he comes out here and rides along with me every day for 15 months. I'll do 15 more months.
Oh, I would
No,
too.
they don't even have to pay me extra.
More now, and to Margaret Warner, who recorded this conversation last week.
For analysis of what we just saw and what it tells us about the stress U.S. troops are under in Iraq, we turn to two former officers who counsel soldiers exposed to combat trauma. Former Navy Lieutenant Commander Heidi Kraft is a clinical psychologist in San Diego who sees exclusively combat trauma patients. In 2004, she directed a combat stress unit in Iraq and later wrote a book about the experience. And former Army Major Brian Butler, who served in the first Gulf War. He's now a licensed professional counselor with the Colorado Springs Health Group, working with soldiers back from Iraq. Welcome to you both. As clinicians in the field, beginning with you, Heidi Kraft, what's your reaction to what we just saw? What part of it rings most true to you?
I think the thing, as I watched that clip, that resonated the most with me was overarching exhaustion. I watched these soldiers as they moved through those minutes out there, and we went with them on those missions, and I felt like they just got more and more exhausted as the clip went on. This is something, unfortunately, that with operational tempo, many times we're up against. But of course, sleep deprivation and physical and emotional exhaustion all play into a person's ability to cope with stress.
Brian Butler, what was your overall reaction?
My reaction was the multiple levels and dynamics of the trauma. I mean, anywhere from seeing a Bradley flipped upside down on its top with other Army soldiers dying inside. You have accidentally shooting the wrong person. You're trying to treat civilians who have nothing to do with the combat. They're just simply injured because of a bomb. So you have all these multiple dynamics of trauma going on at the same time or within a space of a few days, and of course combined with sleep deprivation and the other stressors that just come with being in a combat environment that really rang true.
So Heidi Kraft, we did see, our current theme was that they're in and out of these civilian houses. You have bombs going off, you have children bloodied and crying, you have a woman screaming when they just found an old woman looking for an IED planter. What's the overall impact on soldiers of experiences like that?
I think that what these guys are seeing in this clip struck me as very, very similar to what my patients, who happen to be Marines, were telling me about their experiences in 2004. The mission of going door to door and working in these environments involves many times not having a clear understanding of who the enemy is and not being able to trust anybody. There's a real vulnerability of our troops at this time in this conflict, which continues to sort of resonate through everything they do. So, of course, they're going to be impacted by having civilians be involved in these types of missions, and yet their orders are clear. They can't trust anyone. So it's sort of a double standard that will always be with them, and certainly makes this whole process a lot more complicated.